In the world of politics and economics, few policies can spark as much division and controversy as tariffs. These levies on imported goods are designed to protect domestic industries by making foreign products more expensive, thus encouraging consumers to buy American-made goods. However, the implementation of tariffs often leads to unintended consequences that ripple through the economy, impacting everything from job markets to international relationships. Former President Donald Trump, during his time in office, pushed an aggressive tariff agenda, particularly targeting China, Mexico, and Canada. His administration's promise of America First and the goal to reduce trade imbalances was supposed to benefit American workers and industries. However, as time has shown, these policies have not had the intended effects. Instead, they have led to significant economic strain, particularly in Texas, a state that has long been a major player in the U.S. economy due to its strong trade relations with both Mexico and Canada. In this video, we'll examine the devastating impact of Trump's tariff policies, focusing specifically on Texas, which stands to suffer more than any other state. From rising prices to job losses and a shrinking economy, we'll explore how the fallout from these tariffs will affect everyday Texans, and how, by extension, the entire nation will feel the repercussions. This analysis is a critical lesson in how reckless policies can backfire and damage not only the states that vote for them, but the entire country. Trump's tariffs, the backstory. In 2018, President Trump implemented a series of tariffs on goods imported from China, Mexico, and Canada, claiming that these measures would protect American industries and reduce the U.S. trade deficit. The tariffs on Mexico and Canada were primarily aimed at the automotive sector, steel, and aluminum, while tariffs on China targeted a wider range of goods, from electronics to consumer products. The most striking of these policies was the 25% tariff on all goods coming from Mexico and Canada. Trump argued that these tariffs were necessary to level the playing field and bring jobs back to America. However, the economic data has shown that these tariffs have hurt the U.S. economy in ways that were not immediately obvious. Texas, ground zero for tariff damage. Texas, a state with deep economic ties to both Mexico and Canada, has been hit harder by these tariffs than any other state in the Union. According to reports from economists and financial analysts, including Ray Perryman, CEO of the Perryman Group, Texas faces a disproportionate impact from the trade policies implemented by the Trump administration. Texas shares a long border with Mexico, and as a result, the state has benefited from a highly integrated supply chain that spans both countries. In fact, trade between Texas and Mexico totaled a staggering $272 billion last year, with Mexico accounting for $142 billion in imports to Texas. Some of the key imports from Mexico to Texas include vehicles, vehicle parts, electric machinery, and nuclear reactors. With the introduction of a 25% tariff on these goods, Texans are seeing prices rise. For example, the average price of a pickup truck imported from Mexico is expected to increase by $3,000 per vehicle, impacting not only the cost of vehicles, but the broader auto industry in Texas, which is a major employer in the state. The immediate impact of these tariffs has already been felt in Texas. The state's economy is forecasted to lose about $46.9 billion in gross state product, GSP, each year, which amounts to roughly 20% of the total economic loss expected from Trump's tariffs nationwide. Texas is expected to lose approximately 370,000 jobs due to these policies. This is a significant blow to the state's economy, as Texas has long been a key player in U.S. manufacturing, trade, and energy production. Beyond the automotive sector, other industries that rely on cross-border trade are also being affected. The oil and gas industry, one of the most important sectors in Texas, stands to lose a significant amount of revenue from the tariffs. Texas is the largest importer of Canadian oil, with much of it traveling through pipelines, rail, and trucks to the Lone Star State. However, under Trump's tariff plan, even fossil fuels are not exempt, meaning that oil imported from Canada will face a 25% higher price tag. This could lead to increased costs for consumers and businesses that rely on oil and gas, as well as layoffs in the oil sector. The broader economic impact on the U.S. While Texas is the hardest hit state by Trump's tariffs, the consequences of these policies are not confined to just one region. The broader U.S. economy is expected to lose a total of $250 billion in GSP, with approximately 266 million jobs at risk nationwide. The tariffs on Mexico and Canada will also disrupt supply chains across the country, leading to higher costs for American consumers and businesses. For instance, industries like electronics, machinery, and agriculture, which rely on materials and goods imported from Mexico and Canada, are facing higher input costs. Farmers, in particular, have been hurt by retaliatory tariffs from other countries, which have made it harder to export American agricultural products. As a result, farmers in Texas and other states are seeing lower profits and increased financial instability. While Trump's tariffs were meant to benefit American workers, they have instead caused widespread damage to industries and communities that rely on free trade. The trade war with China, in particular, has led to a decline in American exports and higher prices for goods produced in the U.S. This has made it more difficult for American businesses to compete on the global stage, ultimately hurting workers and consumers. The political consequences for Texas. What makes the situation in Texas particularly ironic is that the state, which has been a stronghold for the Republican Party, is feeling the brunt of the economic damage from Trump's policies. Many of the state's voters supported Trump in the 2016 and 2020 elections, and the state's political leaders have often aligned themselves with his agenda. Governor Greg Abbott, for example, has been a staunch supporter of Trump's immigration policies and trade agenda, even though these very policies have harmed Texas industries and workers. The economic fallout from these tariffs is a stark reminder that policies have consequences, and those consequences often fall hardest on the very people who support them. In this case, the Texas voters who supported Trump's economic agenda are now facing the direct results of those policies in the form of higher prices, job losses, and an unstable economy. There is a lesson here for all voters. Policy decisions, especially those related to trade and tariffs, are not made in a vacuum. They have real-world consequences that can affect families, communities, and industries in profound ways. The people of Texas are now learning that the promises made by Trump and his supporters have not come to fruition. In conclusion, Donald Trump's reckless tariff policies have had devastating consequences for Texas and the broader U.S. economy. The state of Texas, in particular, has borne the brunt of these policies thanks to its close trade ties with both Mexico and Canada. From the automobile industry to oil and gas, Texans are facing higher prices, job losses, and an overall slowdown in economic growth. While the economic damage is significant, there is also a political lesson to be learned. Voters, particularly in Texas, are now experiencing the direct consequences of their decisions at the ballot box. Trump's promises of economic prosperity through tariffs have proven to be empty, and the policies that were supposed to protect American jobs have instead led to widespread economic hardship. As we move forward, it is essential for policymakers to carefully consider the long-term effects of trade policies and to prioritize the health of the economy over short-term political gains. The people of Texas and the rest of the nation deserve better than the reckless and ill-conceived trade agenda that Trump pushed forward. Ultimately, it is a teachable moment for the American people, one that demonstrates how important it is to think critically about the consequences of political choices. Trump's tariffs have not only hurt Texas, but have also left a lasting mark on the U.S. economy as a whole. As we look toward the future, we must learn from these mistakes and work toward creating policies that will benefit all Americans, not just a select few.